Proverbs 14:29. Whoever is patient has great understanding, but one who is quick-tempered displays a folly. It says it here in the word, and this book has been around for thousands of years and it's not going nowhere. And as you can see by the title, self-control is the key to unlocking any door that you want to open. That unlocks everything you've ever wanted. That is what self-control is. Sit on that, because if you are truly self-controlled, you'll be able to get past your flesh. And your flesh, it is more of like an impulsive nature. It wants things that satiate that flesh, right? Because this flesh has an appetite. Our animal brain, almost, think of it like this. And it may just do whatever it wants, like just eat a bunch of dessert, a bunch of other stuff. This is something you need to control, because if not, you're gonna be operating only out of just pure reaction. And you don't want to only be reacting. You wanna be proactive, because if you're reactive, anybody can manipulate you, or any circumstance can manipulate you, not even a person. Be truly cognizant of what you're allowing to control you, and really practice this self-control, because with self-control, you'll be seeing that you'll be able to achieve anything you've ever wanted. Why? Because self-control ultimately translates into discipline as well. If you're disciplined, you're gonna be doing the same exact boring thing to some, because why do they think it's boring? Because they have no self-control. But if you have self-control and you can manage to control your emotions and just be grounded and still, and attack those goals, attack those dreams, each and every single day, doing those tasks that you need to do to carry you forward. That is what's gonna separate you from anyone. And the reason I stated the word in the beginning of this is because it's a principle that it is written. It is known that this is what you have to do if you want to succeed. If you want to rule, be somebody, and be into a position of power, the best kings had self-control. Because if they didn't, the kingdom would get overthrown, right? Not everything is gonna go your way. The nature that we live in this world, things a lot of times are gonna be out of our control. There's gonna be circumstances that you couldn't even predict to you that happen to you. And what are you gonna do when those circumstances arise? Are you gonna just fold and cry and let it get to you? Or are you just gonna be stoic and keep pressing forward and knowing that the purpose is all that matters? The goal, the mission is all that matters. The things that get in the way, these little hurdles, these are just tests of your character to see if you have this self-control. Of course, you need to be able to manage it. Now, how do you manage this? Well, you can start by doing simple exercises. If someone pisses you off and you really want to latch out and get at them, right? And just basically ignite more to that fire. The next time you catch yourself in an instance like this, have the awareness to just pause. Think about what you're gonna say. Sometimes going silence works. There'll be times somebody is like really pissing me off and I'll just be silent. And they think I'm ignoring them, but I'm not. Usually I'll just go silent for a few seconds and then I'll reply. Just follow up with something, but just pause on it, meditate on it. Because usually if you react, right, it's gonna come up differently and it's usually gonna lead into more of an argument. But if you're patient, that can lead you anywhere, right? There's a big need for patience. If you're not patient, you're just gonna lash out. And so you need to be able to control yourself. That is something dealing with people to people. There could be something else, business happens. For some reason, Amazon's policy changes, some law happens that makes you lose money, something like this, right? That you couldn't even predict and it just so happens to happen tomorrow. And you cannot lose yourself in this. The emotions will have you swaying everywhere. These emotions are actually fuel for you to get this done and actually push even further and be like, okay, this happened. How can I learn from this? How can I prevent this? And how can I grow from this? You need to be asking yourself these 3 questions, because if you take it as a lesson, you will never lose. No matter what happens to you, it is all a lesson and you can learn from it and grow from it. But it takes self-control to come to this realization. Most people cannot handle this sort of stuff. If you're trying to go out here and achieve big things, become an influencer, become a big businessman, you name it, an athlete, whatever, all these things are gonna arise and you need to be able to handle them. Because someone who's emotional is not rational. I see a lot of people in this day and age that are just led by their emotions. It's almost like driving a car and it's on autopilot, but it's on autopilot to the wrong destination. You want to be the driver of that car. You don't want that car to end up in a destination that you don't want. But being emotional leads you to do that. So don't be emotional. It's easier said than done, because sometimes you just really don't have that awareness. Like, you're really just reacting. Train this muscle. And also do meditation, because meditation honestly lets you control more of your mind, because it trains your brain to basically fall under your control, right? Meditation, prayer, all these sort of things can help you with this. But ultimately, it boils down to practice. You just need to take notes of times of stuff that, arises you emotionally and gets you worked up and see how can I be more patient with this. Because it says it clearly in the Bible. Who has patience has great understanding. But one who is quick-tempered displays a folly. What does folly mean? The definition of folly means fault. They're just not in control. So it's written here thousands of years and nothing has changed. People think, technology and the advancement of society makes circumstances change, but it doesn't. Anything under the sun is not new. And that's why I love following this book, because it's almost basically the guideline to life. So by having this, with this wisdom, you could learn this the hard way, or you could learn it by reading this, right? And then putting it into practice and truly learning it. Self-control is gonna lead you to your dream self, because most men, when they hit a certain level of success, they just want to go blow all their money. And now all the things that they worked for are gone. And now they're just back at square one. Like, what sort of sense does that make? Why on God's green earth would it make sense to stop doing the habits that got you into the position that you're in today? Now you, for some reason, think you're better than that person that started day one, the day one you, right, that had to do these things to get where they're at. Now you're here, and you think, oh, I've arrived. You have not arrived, my friend. You have just began. You've arrived to one mountain, but there's a second mountain, and there's a third mountain. And if you look up, you're gonna see a bunch of different mountains. And the second you think you're at the top of the mountain, what's the only direction you could go? It's down. And so you always need to be striving forward and ultimately have that self-control. I really wanted to stress this point because I've seen it in my own life, how it's transformed me, and I wanna share it with you. Because if you have self-control, I'm telling you, you can unlock the door that unlocks everything.